Hello everyone and welcome to this month's webinar on upgrading to Retail Pro 9 from Retail Pro 8. My name is Charlie West. I'm a support technician with CRS. And if you attended the first webinar that we did, this is just a re-recording because of some audio issues we had the first time. So we're going to jump right into the presentation today because we have nobody on hand that might have any questions. And if you do find that after the webinar you have some concerns, I will leave our contact information for both sales and the technical support team at the end. So to get us started, I've broken this webinar up into 4 main sections. Part 1, the system and database changes between Retail Pro 8 and Retail Pro 9. So that's kind of the the underlying technology behind them and the differences between it. 2 is inventory and purchasing changes. So that's inside Retail Pro 9. What is different about inventory and purchasing? And same with part 3. It's but focused on sales and customer differences between Retail Pro 8 and 9. And part 4, we're going to look at a few upgrading concerns that some clients have. Okay, and we'll briefly discuss those. And if you want more information, of course, you can contact us after. So part 1, the system and database changes between Retail Pro 8 and 9. So to get us started, the biggest difference is that Retail Pro 9 is what they call a relational database, and Retail Pro 8 is a flat file database. So a flat file is hundreds and hundreds of separate files, data files, organized by indexes. And you'll notice in Retail Pro 8, you have to switch the month in order to see, even if you want to see sales from yesterday, if it's in a previous month, you have to change the sales file you're looking at. That's because it can only fit so much data on each of those files. So it creates a separate month, a new file for each month. Okay, so this is the Retail Pro 8 folder of my system, and it doesn't even have that much data in it. You'll see there's only, some of this data is from 2006, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of files in here. And clients that have been using Retail Pro since 2006 and don't just have a bit of test data will find thousands of files in there. Okay, the reason for all these separate files, that's why you're getting a lot of the reconstruct issues or the indexing errors, INVN.dat errors, the scourge of many Saturday sales stores when they open Retail Pro in the morning and they've got the indexing error and we need to run the reconstruct tool. That's because one of the links between all these different files has been broken and we have to rebuild the indexes that link the files together. It does have some benefits. It requires very little space. I can zip up a huge company's database into a tiny little file because it's all just these tiny little text files, really. But it's very limited when it comes to updating history, and it's very prone to errors. So you'll know that if you change the name of a vendor, if you change some departments, none of your historical information gets updated because those files are all separate. Okay, so we have to run a special tool called DVS if you want to update your historical information with your new departments so that you can report on them properly. That has all been changed for Retail Pro 9 because it uses a relational database. You make a change in inventory to a department, that change is updated to any document that item was ever on. Okay, because they are related, they are attached to the inventory. The inventory that is on the sales documents, the POs, the vouchers, it's all linked up together. So changes in one area are going to affect all the others. Retail Pro 9 consists of some huge data tables, like one for inventory, one for customers, that are all linked up by these common fields, and that's called a relational database. It's much more flexible, it's way more scalable and reliable, and there's no more switching from month to month to see your historical documents. Okay, you can, in your receipt list, view every single receipt you've ever done if you like, and sort it. The other biggest difference is there is no more deleting items. So Retail Pro 9, it's very, very rare to ever delete anything. If you want some inventory that's been discontinued, we just mark it inactive, and that's because it is related to that history. So if you were to delete it, and they don't make it easy, it's a special tool we need to run to clean out some old data, those old historical documents would have the items removed from them. Okay, so items are never actually deleted in Retail Pro 9. They're just marked inactive, which takes them off your regular list view, your regular screens, makes them unorderable, unsellable, but they are still available if you want to see them. Okay, so other big difference, no more file locks. All right, so in Retail Pro 9, I don't really have the ability to test it here, but in Retail Pro 9, you can access your system preferences, run maintenance programs, um, even pull your data or have the price manager open without having any other users have to exit the system. Okay, so there's no more, can we get everybody out? We've got to update your currency or add a new tender. We don't have to do that anymore because there's no file locks at all in Retail Pro 9. Another big upgrade is the polling. So polling is very, very painless in Retail Pro 9. You know, Retail Pro 8, polling can be prone to some issues. Where file locks, especially if one user leaves the screen on the receipts list, the system will not poll properly overnight. And not only that, but you'll notice some errors in the morning after polling sometimes, indexing issues. Retail Pro 9 polls because there's no file locks. It can poll all day. It doesn't need to even run overnight. Most of our clients on Retail Pro 9 are set up to have their store-to-store polling. And again, if you don't have multi-stores, polling is the program in Retail Pro that sends your data from your remote locations to your head office, okay, and shares it across all the stores. So that polling used to require in Retail Pro 8 that everyone was out of the system or at least on their home screen, not locking any files up to run properly. In Retail Pro 9, it can run during the day, and most of our clients we set up to run every 1 or 2 hours. So if you've got 3 or 4 stores, they can see, if needed, the sales done at the other stores within an hour. All right, and that can be really helpful when you've got stores in close proximity where customers are buying and returning items to different locations, depending on where they are. There's also no 32-bit operating system requirement for Retail Pro 9 polling, and as there was in Retail Pro 8, and we know it's been a struggle for some of our clients to find some of those older systems, operating systems, in order to keep their polling running. It also has a brand new built-in Centrals database. Okay, I can't really demonstrate this one very well either, but what it is you can keep and track your own store credit, gift cards, gift certificates, issue your own gift cards and gift certificates without the need for a third-party plugin, and you can access that information. It's shared among all the stores in your fleet. So it keeps a separate database with your gift cards in it, gift certificates as well, store credit. There is a loyalty plugin as well that we're going to cover in a future webinar. And also the immediate customer sharing. So depending on how it's set up and turned on, you can keep a database of gift cards at your main head office that the other stores can all access. So you can just go ahead and order your own branded gift cards and use those in the store. You don't rely on a plugin or a third-party program to keep track of your gift card database for you. Store credits, customer information is also shared among all the locations. So a customer comes in to do a return, even if they bought it 5 minutes ago at one of the other stores, you'll be able to see that as part of their purchase history. Okay, that customer that was created will immediately be available in your system as well. All right, so that's the Centrals database. Let's go on to the transition from Retail Pro 8. So we have set it up. We're getting pretty good at it now. A pretty seamless transition from Retail Pro 8. The Retail Pro 8 data can be converted and moved into Retail Pro 9 in as little as 24 to 48 hours, so 1 to 2 days, where only 1 day are you completely locked out of Retail Pro. Okay, Retail Pro, I'll switch between Retail Pro 8 and 9. They look very similar. So it is not a big, there's not a big leap in training to get staff working on Retail Pro 9. And it follows a very similar layout and methodology to Retail Pro 8. So staff who were comfortable with 8 generally have no issues moving on to 9. Okay, we do a bit of training, help you set up some of your previous layouts and designs. You know, if you've used Retail Pro 8 for 20 years, there will of course be little things in it that you've set up properly that will take a bit of time for us to restore in Retail Pro 9. But for the most part, you can move over in just a day or two with very little difficulty. Okay, now Retail Pro 9 is fully supported on the most recent Windows releases like Windows 10 Pro. There are no more operating system or hardware limitations requiring 32-bit operating systems. Clients running Retail Pro 8, I know that you've had a real struggle finding some of these older systems, Windows 7 running 32-bit, and that hardware requirement is completely removed. Retail Pro 9 is fully up to date with the latest operating systems. Okay. There is a change in hardware requirements. So Retail Pro 8 is quite old at this point. So Retail Pro 9 requires a much stronger database server. So the computer that runs Retail Pro 9 is usually an upgrade for clients. It does need considerably higher requirements than Retail Pro 8 does. Okay, so if you are looking at Retail Pro 9, you can look at, we are more than happy to have a look at your existing systems, but it is almost guaranteed that you will need to upgrade to a new computer to hold your database server. We do have a systems requirements document available for clients with 1 to 4 workstations. If you have more than 4 workstations at a store, then you should talk to us directly about a custom review of your requirements. Okay, so 1 to 4 stations we can handle. We can give you a list basically if you have your own IT person to outfit the system. If you've got 4 or 5 or more stations in one location, then we might need to have a look at it personally because it might require some special consideration. Okay, Retail Pro 9 also gives you multiple subsidiary support. So this doesn't apply to too many clients, but if you have multiple locations and you need the inventory at those different locations to have its own unique product costs or different inventory products between the stores, Retail Pro 9 gives us the ability to create multiple subsidiaries with their own unique inventories in the same database. So items can be shared between subsidiaries and transferred between subsidiaries, but each item can be assigned to a specific subsidiary if needed. So basically, we see this more in multi-country customers. So you've got a US store, you've got a Canada store, and they each buy from different suppliers, so they have different product costs, even though they might be selling the same products. And they don't always have different product costs, but there's different reasons we can set up multiple subsidiaries. You can have you could have one for your Quebec stores and one for Canada, but the most common reason is they need different items in their databases or the items have different costs. Retail Pro 9 also gives you access to Retail Pro Prism, which allows for browser-based access to your database with a user-friendly layout and very low system requirements. So we're going to have more information on Prism coming out in the next couple months, probably from March forward, as we kind of put together the latest information from Retail Pro on Prism. Okay, so Prism runs through a web browser. Currently it is connected to a Retail Pro 9 database server, and then it can run through a browser. So you can run it through your iPhone browser, through your iPad browser, through a tablet browser, through your laptop browser, through your Chrome or Firefox browser on these devices. You can access your database for selling items. Okay, so there will be more on that coming in future webinars. So you should receive an email if you're signed up when those are released. Okay, finally, Retail Pro 9 comes with enhanced plugin support. So it features all new plugins in Retail Pro 9 for enhancing your business. And these plugins are a significant upgrade in the most part over the ones that were available in Retail Pro 8. And that's because of the way that the new database and technology works. So we've already done one webinar on Flex Query, which is a custom reporting tool for Retail Pro 9. We're going to do some more like on the loyalty plugin and the import tool that are available in Retail Pro 9. Okay, but quick review, there is a new EFT plugin available that has built-in transaction recovery if a transaction is lost, and a reprint last receipt option, which a lot of clients appreciate. There's an e-commerce plugin from EDI with a lot of enhanced functionality over the version 8 one. There are email marketing plugins from MailChimp and Constant Contact. There's an import tool, which is much more user-friendly and allows you to import new products, POs, and vouchers from Excel. And there's a Foundry Logic mobile payment and inventory review plugin that is iOS compatible. All right, so that's kind of the overall technology changes, what's going on in the background. Sorry you've had to stare at just my home screen here for the last 10 minutes, but now we're going to jump into the actual differences in Retail Pro. Okay, so I've got Retail Pro 9 open here. You'll notice it looks very similar to Retail Pro 8 in the overall layout, and you'll see some key differences as we start going through the program. So we're going to go inventory and purchasing changes. Okay, so let's go on into merchandise, inventory. And unfortunately, this is running off a virtual machine I have set up, which is not quite powerful enough to run Retail Pro 9. So it gets there, but optimally, your Retail Pro 9 machine would be running off hardware twice as good as what I had to set up my virtual machine here on. So you'll notice it is a bit delayed than what you can expect to see when you run it yourself. Okay, so here in inventory, we have an option now on the right called History. Now, I don't have too much data in here, but just to give you an idea of what it looks like, you can see that it's loaded up the sales history tab here on the left. Now, I don't have any history for this item, but you can see at the top we've got all history, adjustment history, PO history, receiving history, transfer history, and it loads by default onto sales history. So for every item, because it's a relational database, it's all attached to all of those previous documents that it's ever been on. You can see every adjustment by date that this item has ever been on. Same with POs, vouchers, transfers, and sales. Okay, so you've got an item in stock, you have no idea where it came from, you can't remember ordering it, you can go into the receiving history and find it. If it's not in there, well, then maybe somebody unpacked it and they missed it. You've got a customer who comes in and they forgot their receipt, but they just bought it yesterday. You know, you can look up the sales history. You'll see every transaction that was done for that item yesterday. And because you can pull back and forth within an hour, you can see that item in the item history within an hour of them buying it at the other store. Okay, we've got some new fields that are available. So this is the regular form view screen for your inventory. So I'm going to go over to the purchasing tab. We've got some new fields available for the orderable date, discontinue date, unorderable items. There's some extra ones available as well called saleable and purchasable. So you can set all these dates that control when you can sell an item, when you can purchase an item, when you can order an item, that allow you to do, this is most often used for pre-release. So you've got clients who are ordering an item that you don't have access to yet, but you want to be able to sell it. So you see this in video games where they'll sell you a video game that's coming out in 3 months, and then you can come pick it up then. So you can set a saleable date on the item so that the staff can't sell it, even if it's in stock, until a specific date. We've also got, there's no lost data in Retail Pro 9. Because the data is never deleted, it's a relational database. You'll see at the top here, we don't have a delete option on these items. We have an inactivate. So I can inactivate an item, and that's how I remove it from my regular inventory view. But it's never actually gone. There is an option in the menu to see your inactive items. So you'll see it's disappeared from my regular inventory list. I can't order it. I can't sell it. But it is still technically available. It's just not active in our database. Okay, there's an option that lets us see those inactive items if some were marked inactive in error. Okay, so I can use show inactive if I need to see that item again. There is no data verification system. So, we see this most often when clients are redoing their department structures, or, and they want to be able to see the new departments they've laid out. If they're switching from maybe a one-level department structure to 3 to get a lot more detail, they want to see those changes in their history. Well, in version 8, every time you changed anything, we had to go in there and run an update tool. And that update tool wasn't perfect. It could, if you had special items in there where you changed the descriptions, or different scenarios, that could really end up causing more damage than it fixed. So we had to be really careful. If you've cleaned house in Retail Pro 8 where you're reusing item numbers, we had to be really careful that we didn't overwrite your old sales data with the new item information. So there's no more need for that because all the information is linked. If I was to change the description of this belted hipster swim bottoms, or the vendor code, or the DCS code, the documents that have this item on there would be updated immediately. If I change my departments, every item that has that department on it would be updated immediately. Okay, we have the find and replace function in Retail Pro 9. So this is a pretty cool feature. We can search for inventory on our inventory screen. You can use it on any list view screen, to be honest, and tell it to find and replace specific fields. So you want to change let's say you want to change some customer information. So you're going to change all your old postal code structures or your phone numbers to a specific format. There's a find and replace button or feature that allows you to quickly have it scan through your inventory list and replace specific fields with new information. So let's say, sometimes you've recorded it under blue, sometimes you've recorded under BLU, sometimes it's just BL. You could have it scan your inventory, find these BL fields under your colors or your attributes, and replace it with blue. Okay? And you'll see it's in the attribute field, so it's only going to scan this field. That way you can stay consistent with having all your blue attribute colors. If you wanted to keep them consistent across all your inventory, you can use this tool to go ahead and start finding and replacing them in stock. I should have changed that to BLU. Okay, so it's found a number of BLU items. I'm going to tell it to go ahead and replace those with the word blue. Okay, so it's gone through and made that change for me. It saves a lot of time rather than having to update or correct all those items individually. Let the system do it for you. All right. For some of our larger clients, there's no document restrictions in Retail Pro 9. So in Retail Pro 8, you're limited to 500 items on every document, on every PO voucher. In Retail Pro 9, there's a special option. We can increase that limit if needed to 5,000. Okay, increase document limit to 5,000, and it's going to let you have up to 5,000 items on a single PO and voucher, which is useful for some clients who do all their purchasing at one time of the year. Okay, multiple department code references. So for your departments, we've got our department short code, our department name, and then we also have access to another field, which is where we can specify a short name or a long name for our departments as well. So if you've got one more code that you use for your departments that the staff like to be able to look it up by, then you can add those extra names to Retail Pro so that staff can look them up by. Okay, so you've got your department name, and then we have access to a long department name as well. So if you want your department to be shoes, and the department code is SHO, and the department name is shoes, and for some reason, your staff really like to look it up by the word kicks, then you can put an extra name in there that they can use to look up your department codes for your department, class, and subclass. Okay, so it's just an extra lookup field if needed that you can input another lookup name too for your departments. Back to inventory, it allows for images in inventory with up to 10 images for every item. We have some access to some basic statistics from our inventory screen as well. So I don't have any sales history, unfortunately, because I needed to reset the data in this virtual machine recently. But there is if we click on one of these items, without having to go into a report, we can get access to some basic statistical information on it, such as turns, sell-through, GMROI, stock to sales, sold quantity, and more. And I don't have the button on here, and I don't want to take too much time looking for it, but there is a button that gives us our inventory statistics for each item, and I don't have any history in there anyways. So next, for product transfer options, we've got a lot more options when it comes to transferring between locations. So if you have multiple stores, this can be really helpful. You can set up specific rules for transferring between your stores. So you'll see I can have a rule for if I want to transfer between my San Francisco and Seattle store, if I want to allow that, and you can control which stores are allowed to transfer to each other. Transfers no longer require in and out slips. It's done by an out slip at the store, and they receive it on a voucher at the destination the same way that they would receive a regular purchase order or any other item. Okay, we've got some extra options as well when it comes to transfers, where we choose the method that we want transfers to be created under. So when you do an out slip at the store, you can have it generate an advanced shipping notice for the destination or automatically create a voucher. So as soon as my Seattle store does a transfer out, a voucher is created, putting it in stock at the other store right away, kind of the hands-off transfer method that we're surprised but quite a few companies prefer, because it gets rid of the need for transfer verification completely. And the product is instantly moved to the destination store. We've got access to pending inventory POs and vouchers. So I can't show you that on here because it's a main system, but it does give access to remote stores to create inventory, purchase orders, and vouchers that require approval by someone with a higher security status at the main to become active in the database. Okay, and I think if you have low security users at the main as well, you can do the same feature. So it'll create the items in a temporary status that have to be approved by someone who has the correct security permissions for POs, vouchers, and inventory. So if you want your staff to be able to create POs and vouchers, but maybe you aren't comfortable with them doing it all just yet, you can have them create versions of those POs and vouchers that are called pending POs, pending vouchers, that require you to come in and give them the final okay before they become active documents. Okay. Finally, we have more currency options in Retail Pro 9. So you can assign currencies to vendors and have Retail Pro calculate the foreign order cost based on your currency setup. Let me see here. So you can set up as many currencies as you need, assign those currencies to vendors so that when you're ordering products, you can put in either the vendor's currency or the local currency and have it automatically convert between the two. Okay. That's it for inventory and purchasing changes. So we'll go right into the sales changes that are different. I'm going to open up a brand new receipt. So in Retail Pro 9, you can require a receipt number for returns if you wish. So if you don't want the staff to do returns without original receipt, we can require the receipt number. Not only that, but Retail Pro 9 has access to what's called referenced returns. So if we turn it on, then not only do you require the original receipt, but it will actually go back, find that original receipt, and add it to the return at the original price it was sold from. Okay, so you'll see if we press return item, we have the option to scan or put in the original receipt number, and it will go back and look for that receipt in your database and add the item as a -1 at the price that you sold it at. It will also warn you if you ever try and return the same item from the same receipt more than once. Okay, so if somebody's trying to return an item from the same receipt for a second time, Retail Pro is going to warn you what receipt it was returned on already and that it's been returned once before. Okay, if you have security permission, like system administrators, you still have access to a no receipt option, so you're not required to put in the original receipt. Now, I don't have any sales history in here, unfortunately, so I can't demonstrate how the, you know what, we can finish this one. And do it on a brand new receipt. Okay, you can see we've also got a void item, remove item. Those were on Retail Pro 8. I'm going to go to tender it, cache, and update. Okay, so receipt number 74 has been entered into the system. Let me just take a quick note of what that item was. Okay, so I'm going to return the item. I'm going to put in receipt number 74, and we can have your receipt codes print as a barcode on your receipt. So you just scan the original receipt number into there. Now it's automatically matched it to that price of $10 that I sold it at for the return. Okay, so no more mistakes giving clients back the regular price when they bought it on sale. And if I do this twice, it's going to warn me that this item's already been returned. So you can help eliminate some return fraud as well. Okay, you can also require customers or staff to never be able to remove an item from a sale once they've added it. They can only void it. So if you're having some theft issues, and because staff have been taking exact cash payments and deleting the items or deleting specific items on the sale, you can have it so that they can only void them. So it's still going to show up there as a 0 and on the receipt for you to be able to audit later. Okay, some other changes in the tender screen. Retail Pro 8 had a maximum of 3 credit card tenders. So occasionally we get a call because someone had a crashed Retail Pro 8 receipt, and that's because they went over more than 3 credit card limit in Retail Pro 8. So there's no limitation in Retail Pro 9. Every time a receipt is modified, so if somebody's modified a receipt after the original date, there is a field that lets us see the last time the receipt was modified. Okay, so that's new for Retail Pro 9. If you've got, again, some of the shrinkage issues, you can have a look and see if these receipts were changed by someone who had permission after their original date. Okay, so modified by employee, and there's a last edit date field in here as well. It's going to tell you even the user who modified it last. So this one was created, and there is one for the last edit date. There is better associate tracking. So if you are commission based, we can set, you can have a cashier on a sale, you can have an associate on a sale, but you can also have up to 5, I believe, associates on any specific item. So if you need to split commissions, you can have associate 2 added onto the sale, and you can give them a percentage of the commission that's to be shared. So, somebody came in, they did up this huge order with a staff member, on the original sale, they were on there as 100%, but if your policy says that whoever they come in and, make the payment with gets 5 or 10%, you can distribute the commissions on the items for the sale to multiple people, and as well as the proportion. We have better customer security. So when it comes to creating customers in your system, you can assign them a security level from 1 to 4, and then set up which employees are allowed to see those fields. So, we have some clients in Hollywood. If you have customers whose information you need to protect, even some clients down in Toronto, Vancouver, Edmonton, Montreal, they have some clients that maybe don't want their information available to regular staff. You can set a high security level so that only specific staff, management, or owners can see that customer's information. Okay, so let me see. It's not a field that I have in my defaults here. Okay, so by default they'll be level 1. You can set them as a level 4 and then have only owners or some managers available to see and edit level 4 customer information. Okay, so that you can keep their address and phone contact info on hand without having to worry about some staff having access to it. Finally, we've got for our sales here, we've got our X out and Z out updates. So you can, in Retail Pro 9, require a blind close so that staff cannot see the over and short, and set your default leave amounts in the Z out. And they also have access to the flash reports. Okay, so these might have been available at the very end of Retail Pro 8, but you have access to these flash sales reports, which are kind of cool. So I'm looking at my units right now. Let's say I want to do price by cashier. So you can run a flash report. I've just got the one sale in here to see the sales by cashier. So I've got one in here for $10 for sysadmin. You can have a quick little chart to show you midday how each cashier is doing, how each store is doing. So if you're pulling back and forth, you can actually check the store's data midday to see how they're doing. You can break it down hourly. You've got a bunch of different options available here. Okay, as well as multiple data types at the bottom. Okay, the Z out itself, you'll notice, is a bit different. So instead of calling it a Z out, it's now called a register close. You can have a register open. It does require the register close if you want to be able to reconcile the till. It's a bit of a different interface, but mostly it's the same information that was available in version 8. So you're going to choose your user, your store. You can set a workstation if you need to. Set when it was opened will be listed on here, as well as the open amount and the time that we're going to close it at 10:01. And you go through, you count all your currencies. You can count your non-currencies as well. So your credit cards, your gift cards, and then it will reconcile for you. And you have the option to print the report just like you would on the regular Z out. So it does look a bit different, but it functions almost entirely the same as it did on version 8. Okay, I've got my screen zoomed in a bit here, so we'll just open it up. We can tell how much we're short because I didn't make a count for that cash sale I did, and then I have the option to print it. All right, that's it for the major big customer and sales differences. So the last part of today's demonstration, we just wanted to go over a couple of the upgrading concerns that come up with customers. The first being probably the biggest one that we get with clients is the reports. So Retail Pro 8 features a very customizable, just going to close these after accidentally clicking. Retail Pro 8 features a very customizable reports tool. You can go in there, build custom reports, build really complicated merchandise reports. And Retail Pro 9, because the way the database works, that relational database, the reports tool, if you want to make some customizations, requires some some programming knowledge, some SQL knowledge. So for all intents and purposes, we consider it static, or the reports that are built into here to be not modifiable. Okay, and while it does come with quite a few reports, like if we go into our summary reports, by default it comes with over 100 reports. I think there's 144 available to you. Some clients find it's not every report that they need access to, or they want those custom reports that they used from version 8. Sometimes they use them for plugins or outside reporting. They want access to all those again. So these reports, you can consider them can't be modified, can't add extra fields, can't remove fields, and so forth. They do have filters available, so you can still filter them when you run them. You'll see by default every field is on here, and you can save filters, but the default fields that are on the report can't be modified. Okay, so they do work great for a lot of small clients, but or clients who are okay with the stock reports in here. It covers 90% of the data that you're going to need from the system. But if you're one of those 10% that needs something, or a report that prints in a specific way, we recommend a plugin called Flex Query that I did a webinar on last week. It's a custom reporting tool for Retail Pro 9 that comes with some really cool features like scheduled. It's easy to schedule reports, exporting, all that information. We did a whole webinar on it last week. We recommend that to any clients who relied a lot on custom reports in Retail Pro 8. Okay. The final upgrading concern that we wanted to address was the hardware requirements. So if you've been using Retail Pro 8 for a long time, it had very, very, very low hardware requirements. That's because it uses all those tiny little files, those tiny little flat files. And while that caused a lot of issues, it did mean that the requirements of the workstation that's running the database could be extremely low. We have clients running Retail Pro 8 off 10-year-old computers without too much issue. So, I mean, that's kind of a ticking time bomb in itself, but, it happens. And Retail Pro 9 is going to require a high-end computer to run the database at a minimum. Okay, if you haven't upgraded your computers in over 5 years, then you could be looking at some workstation updates as well. The workstations don't have near as high a bar as the server, but if you have been, if you're running Windows XP, there's a good chance you haven't upgraded your computers in at least 6 years, and you might be looking at upgrading some workstations as well. Contact us. If you're interested in Retail Pro 9, we can do a custom audit on your systems, let you know what's going to work, what isn't. And sales or technical support at CRS can help you out with that. Okay, but just keep in mind that if you do want to move to Retail Pro 9, it is much more new. It can run off Windows 10. A lot of clients actually have been waiting to upgrade to 9. You're waiting to upgrade their hardware until Retail Pro 9, the full Windows 10, was available, so that they can upgrade to the latest systems and not have to keep running off Windows 7. All right, but just keep that in mind. If you've been able to skimp by on your Windows XP machines for the past 12 years, you could be looking at upgrading not just the server, but maybe a couple workstations as well. Okay, and we'll do that whole consultation on your hardware in the Retail Pro 9. Of course, no charge for any of our existing clients. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for coming, or since this is a re-recording, thank everybody for listening, or who looks this up on YouTube later. And if you have any questions at all, support at retailbycrs.com, or the number here on my desktop background, 866-204-5511. Any of the support text can help you. If you really desire to speak with myself, I can be reached at extension 129, and my email is there as well. So we're going to send this YouTube link out to everybody who signed up for our webinars, and we'll have it available on our website as well. Thanks.